Hey, everybody. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the movie Extraordinary. Before we get started, hit the like button and subscribe. It may only be a click for you, but it has a significant impact on the channel. On this alternate Earth, everyone gets a superpower when they turn 18, from flying to controlling the elements. However, Jen is 25 and she still hasn't found hers, much to her dismay. During a job interview, she learns that her boss's power makes people tell the truth, causing her to say a lot of embarrassing things and miss her chance. In the evening, Jen goes out with her casual partner Luke. Once they are done, Luke waits until Jen goes to the bathroom and flies out the window. Jen feels unappreciated because he always does the same thing. The next day, Jen's roommate, Carrie, works at a law firm. Her power allows her to let the souls of dead people take over her body for a few minutes, so the lawyers use her to solve cases. Unfortunately, this makes the clients angry at her for getting in their way. Jen comes home in the afternoon and discovers a lost cat at the door, so she lets him in. She then sees Carrie's boyfriend, Cash, trying on a homemade superhero costume and mocks him for it. Embarrassed, Cash uses his power to turn back time and quickly closes the door so Jen won't see him. Soon Carrie comes in and cries, talking about how she's fed up with the customers and Jen tells her to quit, but Carrie can't because she has to support Cash until he finds a job. Then, to lighten the mood, Carrie turns to Hitler so they can mess with him. Later, Carrie has a date with Gordon, who refuses to shake her hand without a glove because he can make people instantly horny with just one touch. After a nice dinner together, they go to Jen's place, but Gordon refuses, proving that he can be good for women naturally. He kisses her with plastic between her faces and does naughty things with gloves on, but he's terrible at it. So Jen has to fake it. Gordon then goes to bed, putting a barrier of pillows between himself and Jen to keep him from touching her in her sleep. Meanwhile, the couple is outside when suddenly an unseen man takes her phone and asks for her purse. Instead of turning back time, Cash throws her wallet at him and grabs Carrie to escape. Afterward, Cash confesses that fighting off the mugger felt good, so he wants to be a real superhero. The next morning, Jen wakes up and decides to touch Gordon, but freezes when she sees the cat jump up on the bed. The cat ends up touching Gordon first and wakes the man up, screaming with his passion. An annoyed Gordon leaves, telling Jen that they are incompatible. Afterward, over breakfast, Trinity decides to keep the cat and calls him Jeezy Lord for something he did on the bed. In the evening, Jen takes a cab to her half-sister's birthday party. The driver has the ability to predict when someone will die, but refuses to give her the details, saying only that she should watch out for bears. During the trip, her father calls her and tells her that she must be a good sister. At the house, Jen meets her mom, Mary, who can manipulate technology but can't control it, and her partner, Ian, who can feel emotions. Jan's half-sister, Andy, turns 18 today, and Jan provokes an argument by pointing out that she may not get any abilities. So Jan has to use his powers to defuse the situation. Dine blows out the candles and waits for her abilities to manifest, but nothing happens. Smug Jan is enjoying the moment, but when Andy opens the refrigerator, she opens the door. An excited Andy begins to demonstrate her new superpower, and a bitter Jen walks away, drunk. At this point, Jen decides to visit Luke, who is now having dinner with another woman who has the ability to transform but hardly uses it, implying that she is naturally beautiful, which annoys Jan. Afterward, Luke takes the girl on a flight, and Jen makes him do the same for her. The trip turns out to be short and Luke dumps Jen on the street, telling her that it's over between them because Jen can't love anyone if she doesn't love herself. On the way home, Jen calls her father to hear words of comfort. However, when she arrives, it turns out that her father is dead, and Carrie summons his ghost when Jen needs support. The next day, Jen and Carrie go to a clinic to learn about treatments that can help her awaken her abilities. However, it's all incredibly expensive and she can't afford it. At night, while Jen sleeps, Jeezy Lord suddenly transforms into a human, but before Jen knows it, she's a cat again. Jen's next idea is to release her energy through stress, so she heads to a restaurant with her friends to eat the spiciest dish on the menu. Unfortunately, she can't stand it and runs to the store to drink an entire bottle of milk, which Luke and the security cameras see, making the moment even more awkward. The next day, Carrie takes Jen to the dentist to try and relieve her stress again. Jen tries to escape, but Cree pulls her inside and they start hearing ominous music. The dentist has a knack for getting people to generate their own soundtrack, and when he reveals how gentle she is, Jen's music changes from ominous to relaxing. Unfortunately, the dentist announces that Jen's teeth need fillings, and her music becomes spooky again. To calm her down, the dentist gives her some medicine. Meanwhile, a guy goes to an agency to advertise for superheroes. In another room, Jeezy Lord transforms back into a human, but he has trouble walking like a human. He scratches on the door to get Kesh's attention, but when Kesh goes to check on him, Jeezy Lord becomes a cat again. Back at Jen's, she ends the appointment in a very nervous state. Carrie and Jen go outside to see a guy approaching them. He grabs and carries them into the trunk. It's Cash, who along with Carrie came up with this fake kidnapping plan to add even more stress. The couple decides to stop for lunch and let Jen suffer for a while, but Jen is so exhausted that she leaves Luke a voicemail message about how much she loves him. Cash and Carrie are so distracted that they don't notice the car being towed until it's too late. Carrie calls Jen to get its location, and as the pair rush to the parking lot, Cash confesses that the car belongs to his mother and he doesn't have a license, so he can't take it legally. They eventually make their way to the parking lot but discover they don't have a key to the car, and to make matters worse, the medication is wearing off and Jen starts to panic. They have no choice but to call Andy, who smugly demands that Jen ask for a favor politely. Jen pretends to be polite. Suddenly, a car horn sounds and the girls are horrified to see that Mary and Andy have come to pick them up. While Mom scolds her daughter, Jen remembers that she left a voicemail for Luke and asks her mom to delete it. Mary tries but can't control her power and ends up playing the message through the car speakers from the voicemail. Once home, Jen starts taking lewd pictures to send to Luke. Suddenly, she sees Jeezy Lord turn into a man and runs out of the room in a panic. As she does so, she wonders if she has the ability to turn animals by showing them her breasts. Her friends join her, and the guy explains that he's a shifter who's stuck in his cat form. He then hugs Kesh, happy that people can see his real face again, while simultaneously admitting that he has amnesia. The trio continue to call him Jeezy Lord and ask him a few questions, hearing what little he's been able to remember and coming to the conclusion that he's been a cat for about 3 years. Jen decides that they should keep him until he regains his memory. At this point, Jen gets a message from Luke, who has not only seen the pictures but also heard the voicemail, so he thinks Jen is weird. Later that evening, Jen goes out for a walk and sees a dog. To test her theory, she shows her breasts to it. The dog doesn't change, and its owner notices it too. The next morning, the friends learn that Jeezy Lord has forgotten how to use many basic household items, so he's going to need a lot of help. At work, Carrie is approached by a producer who turns down a contract to put his music in cruise ship elevators and asks him to return to the industry. After a meeting, the manager makes Carrie an offer. She can work with them by using dead celebrities' channeling to get them to sing again. To which Carrie happily agrees. After getting to the recording studio, she calls Jen and asks her to come in for moral support, promising to pay her for it. This puts Jen on the spot, and she shows up at the studio pretending to be Carrie's manager, which allows her to strike a favorable deal with Carrie. When it comes time to record, Carrie calls up the singer they need, but finds him difficult to work with and very misogynistic. Ghost even asks Jen to help him remember his lyrics, and after he disappears, Carrie searches for his songs and discovers they are all misogynistic. Carrie feels uncomfortable and wants to quit, but Jen convinces her to stay for the money. Hopefully Ghost, who has a bad memory, won't notice anything. Carrie changes the songs a bit to make them less offensive, but unfortunately the singer hates the cute message and makes a grand scene. Carrie and Jen are immediately fired. Back at the house, Cash is interviewing candidates in which he can summon sea creatures but not control them. He makes a fish fly into a window. Since his family is rich, Cash takes him to work anyway. Ade can move through solid objects, but ends up getting his hand stuck in a wall, but he's taken on the team too. A woman has magnetic powers but ends up attracting all the objects in the house due to lack of control, so Cash refuses to use her services, and a guy who can transform anything into PDF and human. Whose eye lasers do nothing. Randall can use his backside to 3D print objects, which he demonstrates by making a small figurine. Finally, Gregor has super speed, which he proves by delivering a postcard from a British museum in just a second. Afterward, Cash is preparing for his first official meeting when Jeezy Lord unexpectedly brings him a dead pigeon. Not wanting the one to embarrass him in front of the others, Cash sends Jeezy Lord to get groceries at the store. Jeezy Lord is stunned by everything, and the sight of the women's merchandise makes him faint. The store clerk immediately helps him and gives him a book on female anatomy to help him understand the merchandise better. Back at Cash's place, he meets up with his new superhero buddies and notices that Gregor is taking over writing duties on the chalkboard. Gregor has something to say as well, and Cash feels like he's trying to steal the leadership from him. After Randall draws his book with a marker, they discuss what they would do if they were rescuing a woman. Gregor says he should be the leader because he respects all women, and Cash argues that he's the best choice because he's an expert on female anatomy. Seb draws women's intimate places on the board and asks Cash to find the happy spot, which Cash doesn't know. Luckily, Jeezy Lord returns and helps him in time, so Cash is left in the lead. When Carrie and Jen return home, they hear strange noises and discover that Cash and Jeezy Lord are playing a game they created with the woman's merchandise. After a while, the magnetic woman returns because she forgot her umbrella, and suddenly she's stuck to Jeezy Lord, which means he's a Micron. The group decides to go to Dr. Dalidal, a veterinarian who knows how to communicate with animals. His stress level is pretty high because he constantly hears them screaming, so he uses headphones for silence. When Jen brings Jeezy Lord in, the doctor immediately finds the microchip and gives them the address of the previous owner. Later, Cash and Carrie are getting down to business when suddenly Cash gets a text from his new team about a mission. He tells Carrie that they can finish it another time, and Carrie takes offense. So Cash rewinds time to say something nicer, but still walks away. To distract herself, Carrie goes to Jen's room to start cleaning, and her frustration makes Jen realize that Cash hasn't satisfied Carrie in a long time. At that moment, Jen discovers that Luke left a sock behind and sends him a picture of it, and also finds Gordon's glove. Jen says that Carrie should go to Gordon and ask him to use his powers, but Carrie refuses to trade. Afterward, Jen and Jeezy Lord finally visit the address from the microchip, but learn that its owner is dead. At this point, they hear Titus the Pomeranian barking, and Jerd calls him evil, making it clear that he has met him before. The duo decides to steal Titus from his owner and take him to Dallel, who translates the dog's message. Tita hates Jeezy Lord and won't share any information until he is given the day of his dreams. Dallel needs a vacation too, so he joins them. The group ends up at a club where Tito is having tons of fun getting attention from beautiful women. The rest of them drink a lot and even use a little uppercut. When Jen and Jeezy Lord get a private dance from a woman duplicating herself, they feel too awkward and hold hands to support each other. Soon Dolly gets so drunk that she starts hitting on the dancers, and the bouncers kick the group out. Luckily, Tito is overjoyed and tells them that he used to run into Jeezy Lord all the time in the alley behind a famous pub. He then asks them to let him go so he can finally be free. But just as he takes a few steps, he gets hit by a car. That's when Jen and Jeezy Lord head into the alley looking for clues, and Jer awesome pros. Jen thinks they should go inside and find the landlady, but Jeezy Lord panics and runs away. Meanwhile, a team of Cash superheroes try to help the man outside, but instead they scare her and accidentally activate her gun power, causing her to get mad at them. At this point, the man asks for help because he's locked out of his apartment, so they choose Eve for the mission. In order to use his power, he has to get naked, and when he starts to go through the wall, he ends up getting his butt stuck in it. Gregor decides to leave Cash with Aid and leads the others to the bar.